Hello everyone and welcome back to Safari Mack Explores North America. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope we enjoyed our little brief stay in the lower 48 states, more specifically Illinois, to look for the northern cardinal. But today we're leaving the lower 48 states and we are back in the last frontier state of Alaska, here in the Bristol Bay area, where we're going to hang out along the Pacific coastline with the sea otters, otherwise known by their Latin name of Anhydra lutris. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is one of the cutest animals ever! Yeah, they are. My definition of them, cute, but ruthless. Why is that? Stick with me and we'll find out not only in today's episode, but also with part 2's episode next week. But as always, before we begin, if you're new to my channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Check out my Facebook page for content on conservation. And if you have an animal that you want me to do in the future, or if you just have a question about animals, all you gotta do, send me an email, which you will always find the link to down in my description below. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get started with its family and its evolution. Now, we've already actually met a few of others of this family already on our journey with Safari Mack. These include the American badger, the wolverine during our time here in Alaska, and the river otter of the previous year, not 2024 but 23. There are other members of this family include also ferrets, like the black-footed ferret, which is a critically endangered species, the meerkat of Africa, and of course the weasel. They are the mustelids. So the mustelids are fairly easily recognizable. These are animals that have a bit of a low to the ground body. They have a little bit of somewhat of a thin or also some semi-chubby body, have short stubby legs, and they also have a kind of gland near the base of where their butt is on the top side that releases a very, very nasty smell. And I'm going to tell you, if you know somebody who keeps a ferret as a pet, they smell bad, like really bad. So with that said, I would like to say that if you want to learn about the evolution of mustelids as a whole, since we've already covered them in the river otter or the wolverine or of course the American badger, go check out those videos first, and then you can come back here and we'll continue on with part 1 of today's episode of the sea otter. So, like I said, let's get back to the sea otter. Now, according to the Sea Otter Foundation Trust.org website, it says that fossil records trace this animal's lineage isolation in the North Pacific around 2 million years ago, up here in around near the Hokkaido region as well as northern Russia, and then they would eventually spread to all the other islands along the Pacific Ocean. So back then there was an ancestor around that was said to be around 2 million years ago, but they became extinct while the cousin, Anhydra lutris, managed to survive and continue to prosper today. Now, let's talk about their habitat, their lifestyle, and their reproduction. So here is their habitat. As you can see here, this is where originally they used to be found along a good portion of Japan as well as this region and different parts of the coastal lines, but sadly have been pushed out of that region due to other reasons that we'll continue and explore later on. So today I'd like to say something that sea otters are classified as a northern and a southern. So the northerns basically are limited to this region, while the southern is what you would find down up around the San Francisco Bay, as well as possibly maybe down to San Diego, but that's probably stretching it a little too far. Now these guys' habitats are limited to rocky coastal lines as well as finding near kelp forests, where basically they have to be 15 to 23 meters or at least 49 to 75 feet deep of water, and they're at least 2/3 of a mile offshores. These guys can come to the land, but they exclusively limit their lives to the sea, and really for a good reason. They're better off this way. So another little fun thing I forgot to mention about their family, in terms of the mustelids, the sea otter is actually the largest member of the Mustelidae family, but is the smallest in terms of marine mammals. So keep that in mind. So, have you ever been to an aquarium and you see maybe a sea otter all by itself? I want you to not show any concern or be worried, because research has shown that sea otters do very well on their own as well as in social groups. Now, these social groups, like this one that you see here, this is what's called a raft, but they're not mixed. More likely than not, they're actually going to be a single-sexed environment. So one raft will be all males, another group will be all females, with males being more of the bigger than the females and young. So these guys tend to stick in groups for protection, but like I said, they can easily do well on their own. Now, let's skip ahead to breeding season. So because this is an animal that, once again, as I've showcased in a couple of other episodes with the mustelids and other different mammals, they have the ability to delay their pregnancy. And so they can be pregnant anywhere from 4 months to almost a whole year. That's right. Can you imagine being pregnant for a whole year? When mama gives birth to her single pup, and it's just mostly a single pup, twins are incredibly rare, she starts licking the baby like crazy, to where she licks it so dry that ultimately it looks like a big ball of cotton floating on the water. Yeah. So mom takes care of the baby and by the time this pup is around 6 months old, he'll be able to fish for himself. But until then, it is basically nonstop. Mommy, can I have a crab? Mommy, can I have a sea urchin? Mommy. Hey, nobody said being a parent was easy. Speaking of parenting also allows them to learn how to hunt. So let's take a look at what's on the menu for lunch today. So sea otters are big eaters of sea urchins, Dungeness crabs like this guy here, but also different species of crab, abalone clam, different kinds of oysters and shellfish, especially cockles and mussels, even snails, and of course they've even been known to take young octopus. Now, they have such a big appetite. You think you can eat a lot? Try matching that with a sea otter's ability. So because these guys live in such a cold environment, they need to constantly keep themselves warm so as to maintain their body temperature and their metabolism. So their metabolism makes them have to eat 25% of their body weight in food every day. So for a little fun experiment, and I'm not trying to make anything like this is just for fun. Next time you weigh yourself, write down that number and then figure out what's 25% of that weight, and then you can exactly see how much food you would have to eat a day just to match that of a sea otter's metabolism. And another great thing about sea otters is, like chimpanzees and a few other animals that we've been able to discover through years of study out in the field, we know that these animals are another group of animals that actually will use tools. As you can see, this sea otter is using a rock on his belly to crack open this hard clam so as to get to the good meat inside. So, intelligence is a virtue. Finally, we're going to end today's episode with their influence in human culture. So, the sea otter has been well celebrated in Native American legends and folklore for many different aspects. So, you see, the connection is so strong that they've been featured in many different stories, mostly about being a clever trickster, surviving against other deadly foes, but also in terms of teaching people, especially children, vital life skill lessons that can help them as nature continues its changes and affects and brings us challenges like never before. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have time for today's episode, so be sure to join me next week for part 2 of the Sea Otter, where we're going to talk, unfortunately, about a little bit of a dark past. And also tune in next week for a little special surprise announcement that I have for you. But until then, this is Safari Mack. I'll see you all out there.